Princess Nike Mercier of the Rain Dukedom arrives at the harbor of Sun Kingdom. Nike's loyal chamberlain pleads with her to reconsider her decision of going unannounced. He tells Nike that they can perhaps come after arranging a meeting through the ambassadors. Princess Nike immediately shuts down any propositions made by Chamberlain by stating that she wants to explore the kingdom. Once the harbor town of Lepian comes into view, Nike tells her royal servants that they can make their way back home. After stepping out of the ship, she assures the sentimental crew that this isn't goodbye. However, Nike soon learns that the crew is only crying because they wanted to have booze and girls. With the ship gone, Princess Nike makes her way towards the Sun Kingdom that dominates most of the world. While exploring the marketplace, Nike watches the bustling crowd in awe. She stops by a fruit shop but quickly gets shooed away once she tells the fruit seller that his fruits are crazy expensive. Later on, two men approach Nike with ill intentions. They tell her that she can rest for the night in their inn. Delighted by the news, Nike makes the mistake of leaving her luggage untended. The boys seize their chance and run off with her suitcase after making a fool out of her. Dejected by her encounter with the people of Sun Kingdom, Nike ends up fainting out of hunger in the streets. When a kind family takes her in and brings food to her, Nike reveals to the girls Lisa and Mina how she's the fourth princess of the Rain Dukedom. She further informs how she was pushed into marriage with the ruler of Sun Kingdom, a man that is feared by the entire world. Meanwhile, someplace else, a group of uniformed men plot Nike's abduction. They hire the same boys that stole luggage from her. However, when the boys accidentally capture Mina, Nike comes to her rescue. She flaunts her power of controlling the wind, which causes the boys to surrender and act as her chaperone to the capital city. After reaching the castle, Nike meets her soon-to-be husband, King Liviuslo. After meeting the king, Nike is stunned to learn that he is only a child. Livius requests Nike to make it rain in the city by using her powers because he is tired of the sun. However, Nike stretches his cheeks and declines their request. Neil suggests sending Nike back to her kingdom, but Livius finds her interesting and imprisons her. He gives her a choice between starving to death and being his plaything. Later, Livius is talking to the three elders about Nike and reassuring them not to worry about the princess. However, the elders begin to think of ways to play with Nike. Fortunately, Nike manages to slice the cell bars and escapes from the window. She sneaks into Livius's strategy room with the intention to attack him, but instead she faints because of starvation. Neil comes running with guards to inform Livius about Nike's escaping the cell, but it turns out that she is with Livius. Nike clarifies that she cannot immediately make it rain and explains that she needs to connect with the city's beauty and emotions to cast the spell effectively. Before waking up, Nike dreams about younger Livius with a woman named Sheila promising to witness the rain someday. Upon waking up, Nike is infuriated with Livius for the dress he had picked out for her. However, her mood takes an abrupt turn as she lays her eyes on a one-of-a-kind flower, which to her surprise, Livius doesn't take much interest in. Later, after having fun, Livius and Nike relax on a bench when an unknown attacker fires an arrow at Livius. In a quick response, Nike pushes Livius out of the way and takes the hit on her shoulder. Livius recalls the violent nature of the world after the attack, prompting him to declare martial law in the capital and suppress the remaining rebellion. Consequently, the general is exiled and imprisoned for his involvement in the rebellion. He also commands Neil to return Nike to the Principality of Rain. While traveling back to the Principality of Rain, Neil reveals to Nike that Livius has difficulty seeking help from others due to his mother, Sheila's lower-class background. They live in secrecy below the palace, and Sheila was assassinated 3 years ago, leaving a void that Livius is unable to fill. As they journey towards the Principality of Rain, their driver informs them about a column of smoke rising from the direction of the palace. Nike rushes to save Livius. Luckily, Livius himself escapes from the ablaze building. However, Nike arrives and sings her rain-summoning song for the first time and saves the day. In the chaos, the general manages to escape from the prison. After the rain, Livius states that he disliked the rain and cloudy weather, but mentions that he enjoyed seeing the rainbow. Suddenly, he grabs Meg's hair and kisses her. Livius also remarks that Nike will bring excitement to his life. The following day, when Nike wakes up, she is shocked to discover that Livius is sleeping naked in the same bed as her. During breakfast, Livius suggests hosting a party to introduce Nike and showcase her ability to summon rain. However, Nike refuses the invitation, emphasizing that it's a sacred ritual and not just a performance. She also believes that Livius is an area person. During one of his meetings with his counselors, Livius discloses that he refrained from taking action against the attackers as it could have resulted in more resentment towards him. Meanwhile, Nike is talking with Neil, the butler, who expresses his concern about Livius's health because of his busy schedule. In the middle of their discussion, a group of ambassadors shows up for Nike's party and starts mocking her, laughing among themselves. However, Livius suddenly appears behind them and admonishes them. Livius asks Nike for an exchange to rest his head on Nike's lap in the garden. When Nike recommends to Livius that he should reduce his workload, he becomes furious and instructs her to refrain from meddling in his work. This reaction makes Nike anxious as she realizes that they have difficulty finding common ground to communicate about, and she has no insight into what Livius is thinking or feeling. She ends up feeling uncertain and unsure about their relationship. Meg recalls her teacher's lesson about rain summoning, emphasizing that the true power of rain lies in its capacity to touch people's hearts. The next day at the party, all the guests are waiting for Nike to arrive. Livius is anxious, but Neil asks him to trust his soon-to-be wife. Suddenly, Nike appears singing with petals flying around her and with the dancing rain. Meg's impressive entrance causes Livius to fall in love with her due to her stunning beauty. Preparations for the engagement ceremony are in progress, and Livius is occupied with the royal family bulletin. At the same time, Meg is being groomed by the top designer of the Sun Kingdom, who amusingly advises her to shed some weight. Unfortunately, Livius summons Nike and reveals to her that the Ministry of the Priesthood has called off the wedding between Nike and the king. While the official reason given is that Nike is from a different ethnic group, Livius believes that the ministry simply dislikes him personally. Livius also adds that the ministry has offered to reverse their decision only if Nike agrees to undergo the rite of illumination, a secret ceremony that honors the sun god. Livius and Neil both recommend that Nike decline the proposal. They explain that if Nike tries to resist those who despise the king, it will be difficult for her, and it would imply that she agrees with the ministry's opinions. Livius directs Nike to remain silent and let him handle the situation. Nike doesn't want to be treated as weak and helpless, so she disobeys Livius and sneaks into the temple pretending to be a servant. While there, she witnesses a woman about to be struck by a priest that intervenes, revealing her true identity in the process. The angry priest is about to hit Nike, but Rami Aristels, the ministry's leader, steps in to stop the situation from escalating. Aristels seems like a good person to Nike at first, but surprisingly he rudely states that rain and clouds are bad omens and are not welcome in the Sun Kingdom. Aristels also tells Nike that Livius and his mother were not accepted due to their background. Although Nike becomes upset, she restrains herself from hitting Aristels as it would jeopardize her position as princess. Later, she visits an orphanage with the women she saved, where she meets children from different backgrounds and learns that the king visits them and speaks about her. This makes her feel a need to become worthy of Livius' affection. Back at the palace, Meg informs Livius of her decision to go ahead with the rite of illumination. The king then gives her his mother's ring and advises her to wear it around her neck. During the rite of illumination ceremony, Nike is instructed to locate the sun god's ring inside an underground temple and comes back before the morning. Livius and Neil wish her success while Aristel smirks at her before she enters the tunnel. The doors close behind her as she enters the cave system, where she notices that the air is stagnant and heavy, making it difficult for her to use her wind power. She chooses a path and eventually stumbles upon the Sun Temple and the statue of the Sun God. Shockingly, Nike discovers that the Sun God's ring is not inside the statue. Suddenly, she is confronted by a group of masked men. Their leader draws his sword, leaving Nike surrounded. Nike tries to fight, but because of being outnumbered, she escapes by using her cloak to extinguish the fire from her torch, which momentarily blinds them. As she's running, surprisingly, Livius grabs her from behind and saves her. While hiding, Nike creates fog to hide their escape through the secret royal exit. Before they can relax, one of the attackers strikes Nike and accidentally slices the sun god's ring in half. Livius furiously attacks and prepares to kill the man, but Nike stops him and they manage to escape a second time. As they both are running, Nike notices that Livius is trembling when she tries to ask Livius. He hugs her and reveals while sobbing that he can throw everything for her, even his throne. Nike kisses him on his forehead. At the engagement, Nike and Livius arrive without the ring, but Livius announces that Nike will place a ring around the sun. Rani tries to accuse Livius of breaking the rules by entering the cave, but Aristels slaps him and reveals his plan in front of everyone. Nike then punches Aristels in the face, and he is subsequently arrested for his actions. Livius asks Nike to call him by his real name instead of Majesty. However, before she can respond, Luna, Livius' self-proclaimed fiancée, enters the room. Luna introduces herself as the first daughter of the Ocean Kingdom and Livius' childhood friend. But Livius thinks that she is annoying and can't recall a single instance where he asked her to marry her. Luna attempts to humiliate Nike in various ways as part of her efforts to win Livius back. This causes many people to believe that Luna and Livius make a good couple, which leaves Nike feeling sad. Later, Nike is practicing dancing when Livius suddenly shows up with drinks and confesses that he will never leave her. The two of them then begin dancing together while Luna watches from the sidelines. The next day, Luna challenges Nike to a horse race towards a cliff and the winner gets to marry Livius. As the race starts, Nike takes the lead watching this. Luna admits her feelings for Livius during the race. However, After hearing Nike's feelings for Livius, Luna slips and is about to fall into the river after realizing that her love is nothing compared to Nike, who loves Livius for his weaknesses and as well his strengths. Fortunately, Nike uses her powers to save Luna's life. Grateful for her rescue, Luna agrees to support Livius and Nike's marriage. Finally, Nike addresses Livius as Livy for the first time as he steals a kiss from her. Livius decides to take Nike to a festival, but hilariously, Livius ends up in girl clothing because of Nike, so no one can recognize him. While exploring the festival, Nike and Livius come across the two thieves from before. Nike scolds them for stealing and bullying the kid. She also gives the kid they were targeting the awards she had won. Later, back at the palace, both Livius and Nike are scared to enter his room because it seems someone is already in there. Upon entering, it is revealed that it's Livius' charming and talented uncle, Bardman Cecil, has returned from his worldly travels. Upon seeking Nike, he swiftly moves forward to flirt with her. Later, at a banquet hosted by the nobility to welcome Bard, Nike, and Livius attend together. When Livius steps out onto the balcony to take some fresh air, Bard takes advantage of the situation and abducts Nike to her room. However, Nike soon learns that Bard's true intentions are to test her loyalty and to confirm her suitability as a bride for his nephew, Livius. Suddenly, the doors open and it's Livius with guards, who discovers Bard and Nike together. He becomes consumed with anger and confines Nike to her room. He even goes so far as to threaten to destroy her entire country if she does not obey him. In his fury, Livius plans to personally torture Bard to death for his perceived adultery. Nike has a strong desire to assist Livius and Bard in resolving their emotional conflict. Nike manages to sneak out of her room and manages to rescue Bard from prison. It turns out that Bard has an intense feeling of affection for Livius' mother, which caused him to harbor resentment towards the full moon. To help Bard, Nike uses her abilities to obscure the moon behind clouds. However, when Nike urges Bard to talk to Livius, he refuses, convinced that Livius will never forgive him for his past actions. Afterwards, Nike collaborates with Neil and devises a scheme to create an opportunity for Bard and Livius to have an open and honest conversation, where they can resolve some of their previous animosity towards one another. While Nike sings in the rain, the two talk and make progress. However, the rain takes a toll on Nike's health, making her ill. Despite feeling unwell, Nike urges Livius to confess his emotions. Livius then orders Bard to return to his former role as Prime Minister, to which Bard agrees. However, this leads to another fight between Livius and Bard when Bard starts to flirt with Nike again. In the meantime, Meg's grandmother composes a letter for her. Nike receives a letter from the Rain Principality but remains silent about this until after she performs a rain-summoning song for the Sun King's guests. Livius points out that her rain wasn't as good as usual. This leads to Nike confessing what was written in the letter, that Meg's grandmother collapsed and therefore wants to see Nike in case she should die. Livius immediately cancels all of their plans, so that he, Nike, and his butler, Neil, can travel to the Principality of Rain to see Nike's grandmother together. However, it turns out that Nike's grandmother is fine and only had pain in her back. After meeting her grandmother, Livius meets Nike's sisters and Nike's cousin Keturah. Meanwhile, Nike notices that Livius isn't enjoying their trip. In an attempt to cheer him up, Nike shows him the Principality of Rain stars and makes him porridge while they talk. During their conversation, Nike realizes that she loves Livius and unexpectedly kisses him, causing both of them to blush. Meanwhile, Keturah is seen in the background, watching the two. Keturah invites Nike to talk, but is actually a trap, as Nike is imprisoned and her ability to summon rain is restricted. It is revealed that Nike's grandmother is behind this scheme, as she wants to erase Livius' memories and keep Nike under her control. However, Livius is aware of this plan and seeks help from Nike's sisters to find and rescue Nike. While attempting to escape, Livius confronts Nike's grandmother, who throws the key to Nike's cell into the lake. Despite Livius and Nike being meant to be together, Nike's grandmother is stubborn and refuses to accept it. Livius and Nike are in a situation where Livius cannot find the key to free her, and in the midst of it, a massive wave drowns Livius. While Nike is trying to escape by hitting the prison door and hurting herself and confessing her love for Livius, they both believe that their lives and futures would be meaningless without each other, and it will be like experiencing death. On the other hand, the pain of seeing Nike suffer is unbearable for Livius. Keturah is not able to see Nike at hurt, unlocks the cell and sets Nike free and covers her wounds. After getting out of the prison, Nike meets her sister Kara, who takes her to Livius. Nike wants to make her own decisions and not just follow her sister's lead. Kara informs Nike that Livius has drowned while trying to prove his love for her. However, when Nike arrives, it appears as if Livius is not going to wake up, but Nike doesn't give up and keeps trying to save him. Eventually, Livius regains consciousness and declares himself the winner of the horror game because he has found the key, much like Nike. They both have triumphed over their challenges. Later, Nike's other sisters apologize for how they treated Nike and Livius. Neil suggests teaching them a lesson, and the sisters agree. However, Livius states that he doesn't want to punish them, as he believes he's not a bad person. Nike and Livius are then dressed up for a celebration, and Livius meets with Nike's mother, who has recovered from her illness. The people of the Principality of Rain celebrate their love, and Livius declares that he will always love and protect Nike. After the party, Livius confronts Kitora and leaves him alone to talk with Nike. Before leaving for the Sun Kingdom, Nike expresses her desire to meet her grandmother. However, her grandmother refuses to see her. Livius encourages Nike to express everything she wants to say and runs with her to meet her grandmother. When her grandmother sees Nike and Livius, she runs and closes the door. Despite this, Nike is determined to reveal her feelings and assure her grandmother that she is happy. Nike bids her farewell and runs away. The following day, Nike returns to the Sun Kingdom with Livius, and her grandmother sees her off by singing the rain summoning song. Upon their return, it becomes apparent that Bard has become lax and has invited too many guests. As a result, Livius and Nike have to work tirelessly to catch up on the backlog of work that had piled up during their absence. However, they do not get to see each other at all during this time, and both feel lonely. Eventually, Livius reunites with Nike in a secret place that Livius had shown her. They confess their feelings of missing each other and their need for each other. In the end, they kiss. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing to the channel and stay tuned for more quality uploads.